supposed to follow that? Wow, ashe, ashe. Um, I know when she was reading my bio, you might think, wow, all that in her? Trust me, I'm older than I look. But in the grand scheme of things, none of that matters to God Almighty and what He has called me to do. None of it. I find myself constantly tripping over all of those accolades and academic prowesses because they get in the way of me truly hearing, because I think I know. And so there has been a journey, and I asked Spirit, why this message, Eyes Wide Shut? It's not my title. I swiped it. It was actually a movie that came out in 1999. It starred Nicole Kidman and Tom Cruise. I'm not a fan of either, so I didn't really watch it. But when I asked Spirit, why this? Then what I got from my divine allies was that we are constantly talking to Spirit, universe, about the challenges that we face globally, personally, in our family, the lives around us. We're challenged with that, and we are forever talking, but we're not hearing their response to us because we're too busy. Got too many things going on, living with our eyes wide shut from the demands of the world in which we live in. And so again, when I say I didn't watch the movie, but I did go and at least research what the writer intended. Now, the writer defined the condition eyes wide shut as a person who may be aware and awake, but refuse to see things in plain sight because of preconceived notions or something that should look like for them. And goes on to say that the movie reviews said that there were reoccurring close-ups of the actors, their eyes, and the masks that they wore. Now, I'm not going to get into that because Divine Allies gave me their own rendition of what that actually means. And so, Eyes Wide Shut refers for me and for us in this journey of our spiritual walk is that we are actually seeing, but we're not receptive to the language of the universe in a way that responds to our conscious and unconscious questions. See, we're forever talking to the universe, whether we realize it or not. We're forever inquiring. But then once we make that inquiry, we buzz off to something else. Or like myself, I believe that somehow it's in the scholarly texts, looking for someone else to tell me the direction to go when Spirit has given me the blueprint within me. Okay? And so when I think about the eyes wide shut, we are aware and we are awake. We see, but we don't see. Not in a way that we are communicating in a relationship with Spirit, because that's what the universe really wants from us, a relationship. Not just a reading or memorization of the laws, but a true relationship. Okay? And so eyes, for me, represents the gateway or the access into the soul. I remember years ago when I first started my professional career, I wanted to be an ophthalmologist. I believed that being an ophthalmologist would allow me to look into people's eyes and see their souls. But when I go to the ophthalmologist today, he always does, or whenever I go, they do a 3D x-ray of my eyes. And that means that they look behind the pupil and the iris that I see. And every time they show me the x-ray, I'm so amazed, but I don't see my soul. I don't see the thoughts there. I don't see the presence of spirit that dwells within me. But it's still, I mean, wow, that's amazing. They can see back there, you know? The mask, but let me back up, because the Christian Bible actually says that the eyes are our most valuable tools. Okay? Matthew 6:22 states that the eyes are the lamp of the body. So if the eyes are healthy, the whole body is full of light. But what do we mean by eyes that are healthy? And that's what I really want to explore. Because again, I'm not a preacher. I just want y'all to know, I am not a preacher. I'm a teacher and an advocate for your soul, your sacred expressive life force, okay? And so when I think about the mask represents the various personas that we wear in our different interactions with people. I think that they're cloaks of invisibility, because we show up in certain situations with people who are not as receptive to who we really are. And so we put on a persona, we put a mask on, and it becomes our cloak of invisibility, and it hides our true self. And anybody who knows me knows that self is an acronym for Sacred Expressive Life Force. Okay? That's what self means. So one of the things that I do in my work, Spirit gave me the book, Giving Myself Permission. That's a phrase that we say a lot, right? I'm gonna give myself permission. I'm gonna give myself permission. Give yourself permission to. Somebody challenged me with that one time after I was at a book club, and I said, the lady came up and said, give myself permission to do what? And she threw the book down, and I was crushed. But again, Spirit used that to teach me, okay? And that's when the Spirit said to me, it's your sacred expressive life force that you're looking at. You're giving your sacred expressive life force permission to reveal your truth. Not the mask we wear, but the truth that is planted within us, okay? So my friends are often saying to me that I'm able to hear and being receptive to the messages of the universe. My sister Sheila always says to me, my mom and my grandmother have passed on, and she says to me, Pennie, you have a relationship with them on the other side that we will never have, because I have 4 other sisters. And I'm just going to be honest, that's not true. I'm no greater and I have no better skills than anybody in this room. I do not. I do believe that being receptive to the messages of divine oneness requires that we know ourselves, to know our sacred expressive life force. And as I read earlier, to know yourself, you know the nature of everything. And that's important. So let me just say this. Everything that I'm about to say is in retrospect. It was based on my journey here, okay? And so when I think about Eyes Wide Shut, I'm reminded of a childhood game that we used to play when I was a kid. And this game, I don't even know what the name of it was, you know? But the game actually was, whoever was picked, it would be a group of us. You would be either close your eyes or you'd be blindfolded. And the rest of us would be in a circle. And while we were in that circle, the blindfolded person would be groppling around, stumbling, trying to find the person. Now, those of us that was in the circle, we would be in that circle. We couldn't move, but we would have that circle and we would be taunting them, saying certain things. And all they had to go on was what they heard. They couldn't see. And so the person that was blind would be going, I am blind, I cannot see. And if I knock you down, don't you blame it on me. You know that game? Okay. I don't know what the object of the game was. We just played it until we got bored, okay? So if the person who was blindfolded touched you, then you were next. So you had to do it. I am blind. I can Listen, there was a time in my life that that game really reflected me living with my eyes wide shut. I was stumbling around in my life, knocking over things, causing chaos, destruction, self-destruction of my own doing. But just like the song says, I was blind. I was blaming somebody else for everything that I was or was not doing. And so in my blindness of stumbling around, I literally had to ask myself why. In total transparency, sometimes my state of living with my eyes wide shut was willful blindness. I call it selective amnesia. So I would be stumbling around pretending that what I really saw wasn't really what I saw. Because sometimes my reality was so painful, I would rather tell myself a pretty lie than the ugly truth. So that's what was really going on. And then there was the fears of abandonment and rejection. And I didn't want people to reject me. They would say, stay in your place. Or that you were threatening to their fragile egos. And so in order to make sure that I wasn't abandoned or that I was accepted, then I would prefer to stay blind and never speak power to or truth to that fear or the things that was going on. But divine oneness kept challenging me. Let your light so shine so others can see. But I still had to grapple with all of that. But I began to realize before I could actually let my light shine, I had to know myself and to get clear sight, which would help me to know the nature of the universe and the significance, my significance to the overall goal that the universe had in store. Not just for me, but for everybody in this room. Do you realize that when you're out of step with your goal, then you will affect somebody else's goal? And so we have to be in, if we want to say be in your place, stay in your place so that you are elevating and expanding the universe in the way that it requires from you. So just in case it didn't register to you, again, you are you, but you are also the universe. The universe cannot expand, it cannot be enriched, it cannot be healed if we are content with living with our eyes wide shut and then making excuses as to why our blindness is valid. Can't do that. As the universe kept pushing me to grow and expand, things started happening that my eyes saw but didn't see. So I would brush it off as something strange just happened. That was weird I can't explain it, but. And so in that, I began to just kind of minimize things, minimize what I saw or what I heard or what I felt. But about 2.5 years ago, I was walking around the house. Well, I was in the kitchen. I think my divine allies, they like to cook or eat because whenever they're talking to me, they're always in the kitchen. You know, so I get a bunch of downloads when I'm in the kitchen, okay? So I'm in the kitchen, and I don't know what I was doing, but in a very cavalier way, I asked, I wonder what it would be like just to be me, without judgment, without any self-doubt, without any self-imposed limitations. And I didn't really give it any real thought. I just said it, okay? There was no intent behind it. And plus, it was just a fleeting moment of curiosity. I went on about my business. About 2 weeks later, the lights in my office went out. And I have it connected to Alexa. And so nothing had really happened. Nothing terrible, nothing was on my mind. But when I went over there to realign, you have to switch the light back and toggle it on and off to realign it to the Alexa machine. And as I was toggling the switch back and forth, I said to my divine allies, turn the light on in my life. Again, I don't know why I said it, I just said it. No intention there, but I remember feeling what it would be like to have that surge of energy come through me, like that light does, you know? And then every time I touched a light switch, then that request, I was reminded of that, to turn the light on in my life. And so I remember, like I said, thinking that this was how wonderful it would be. But again, I just went on about my business. But being a student of A Course in Miracles and A Way of Mastery, both of those spiritual readings or writings encourage us to understand that we are the universe, that we are God incarnate. It even goes so far as to, it challenged us one time to do a practice or a meditation and say that we are a Christ. I freaked out about that. Okay, because of all the things that I've been indoctrinated with. But again, Spirit was moving me. I asked that the light be turned on. Did I not? Yes, ma'am. Okay? So we can't dictate how that light happens when it starts to surge through us. Yes. So I then began to just play with the idea of what the Course in Miracles and the Way of Mastery always says. You know, what if there is no separation between me and you? That's right. What if there's no separation between me and that chair? Mm-hmm. The insects, the animals. What if there's no separation? That I'm standing in this thing where we're all together, but yet have a significant part to play. What if? And so as I played with the ideal, as I again read, I played with the ideal that the universe in all of its manifestations was peering out through me, using my everyday occurrences and interactions to converse, to communicate with me. And so as I began to play with that, I started thinking about the 4 agreements. And the 4 agreements says this: we keep searching and searching, but wherever we turn our heads, the truth is there to see. But the agreements we've made with false beliefs, our emotional attachments to the negative narratives that we've stored in our minds, we have no eyes to see the truth that is before us on a daily basis. So in other words, we are a hodgepodge of preferences, judgments, biases, secrets, contradictions, driven by our inherited weaknesses and learned inhibitions. And when I talk about inherited weaknesses, I'm talking about the things that our parents passed down to us. Okay? You know the story about a person being in the kitchen and their husband asked, why did they cut the ends of the ham off? Anybody ever read that? Hear that? Inherited weakness. When they finally got back to the person as to why it was because the pan was too short. It had no true relevance. But nonetheless, we held it, or that became a tradition in the family. And we keep doing these types of things over and over again, never assessing, is it valuable? And what is it saying to me? So, pop quiz. How many saw the angelic being at the top of that graphic? Don't worry about it, because we are basically taught not to see the whole picture. We're indoctrinated to only see the messages that is one-dimensional, that has to do with our challenges, with the things that are happening to us. We don't see outside ourselves, and so we lack compassion for another person that's going through. We can't show up for a person in the way that they need. We show up in the way that we think they need us to show up, instead of actually hearing what their spirit is actually begging for, crying for. So we get caught up in only seeing the lower frequencies of our inherited weaknesses, our fragile egos, and the illusions of our comfort zones. Now, we could truly set our sacred expressive life force free from a lot of stuff that dims our light and keeps us spellbound by simply saying, what if? What if I embrace the reality that the universe, divine oneness, mixes and transmutes our unique energies of love, pain, regret, poor choices, anger, joy, all of the things that we grieve about our lives. What if the universe takes all of that, what we call junk, madness, and actually is using it to expand you and the world around you? You are the influential voice of spirit, and you have something to express. So I want to just kind of share with you all my practice, the simple way that I gained light or more light for sight, okay? This is just what I do. You can do what you want to do, but this is just a way that I started practicing being sensitive or receptive to what the universe is communicating to me. First and foremost, we have to realize when I ask that the universe turn the light on, that had merit, okay, first and foremost. And then we have to learn to trust ourselves. And I'm not talking about the self of our ego or our fragile egos. I'm talking about our sacred force, okay? That life force that is wanting to be expressed. So first and foremost, I always, whenever I get into this, I think about what I was actually, so when that something happens, that's something just, that was strange. So when that strange something happens, the first thing I do is I think about and reflect on what was in my mind just prior to that. What was on the screen playing in my mind? The question, the concern. I think about that first. What was there? And then I ask the question, does it align with my divine desire or assignment? That's important, it's critical, because our ego is still there trying to push through and have its own way and so forth, so on. And so to make sure that I'm differentiating spirit and ego, I then ask the next question, does it make my heart and my mind expand or shrink? And if my heart is expanding, then I know that that spirit, that's my divine ally speaking to me. If it's giving me and elevating and a light is going off, then I know that spirit is talking to me. But if I am diminished, if I find myself feeling a sense of guilt, and ego will always guilt you down a rabbit hole. Anybody do that? You think about something that you feel guilty about or you have a sense of regret or shame about, and next thing you know, you've gone down a rabbit hole. All down there, and then you have to pull yourself back out. But most of us, sometimes we just stay there. What difference does it make? Imprisoned by this stuff and never really seeing that the universe is talking to us. So once I find out, let's say that, that something happens. I check in with what I just thought. It isn't aligned with my divine desire. And I realize that it is expanding me. It is enlightening me. It is giving me this energy. Then I start asking, what is it trying to say to me? Is it encouraging me? Is it validating what I just thought? Is it giving me a guidance to take a particular action? Is it giving me any kind of insight or knowledge, clarity? Is it teaching me something? I ask all those questions. And just let me give you a few examples of how that actually happens. Because, for instance, and sometimes my divine allies talk to me instantly. And then other times I have to kind of interpret it. But again, I'm in the kitchen one time and I'm thinking about what the learning spa, and that's the big endeavor that is. to heal the ouch within the African American community. That's huge. And so I was going over that and I was thinking about that and I was like, how? And all of a sudden my divine ally said, stop, stay focused. Your task is to write the vision and make it plain. The rest is none of your business. That's exactly what they said to me. And I was like, what? Hold on. What they were saying, they know that how we are as humans, and my so-called intellectual self, I want to dictate the outcome. I want it to be I want the steps to be as I perceive them to be. And ain't none of that got nothing to do with how God has planned this out, okay? But that's what they were saying to me. Stop being attached to the outcome. And it reminded me of a time when they said to me that mine is to fall in love with the process. And while I fall in love with the process, don't lust after the end goal. I was like, oh my God. That's how they talk, okay? Then another time, I'm on the highway, and the traffic was kind of thick, but it wasn't bad, but it was thick. 35 is getting to be a monster. And so I'm driving, and then all of a sudden, this Jeep jumps in front of me, and I had to slam on my brakes to prevent an accident. But I didn't have time to think about all of that because I was doing defensive driving. What was going on behind me, if somebody's going to rear end me, what's on the side, if I have to take maneuver actions and blah, 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 blah. So when I finally got back in control and realized, I look in front of me and the Jeep, usually they have these tires on it, the spare tires on the back, and then there's a cover on it. And I see on the cover, it says, adventure awaits you. Prior to that, though, I was just thinking, I had just made a decision to do something and acted on it, and I wondered if I had made the right move. And in a near-miss accident, my angels, boom, adventure awaits you. That's how the universe, remember, it's using everything that we are interacting with, our experiences, to talk to us. But are we listening or are we living with our eyes wide shut? So another one that happened, I'm in the kitchen again. They love cooking and eating. And I see on the clock 10:10. Numerology, I know what 10:10 means, okay? And so I smiled and thanked the angels for it. But I also, sometimes when I see 10:10, I think about my niece and her wife. They got married October 10th at 10 o'clock. So 10:10. So I saw it and I smiled. But as I did that, I remember my angel said, your lesson has been completed. It didn't say yours. It said the lesson is completed. That's what they said. 2 seconds later, my niece calls. Wow. 2 seconds. And I'm thinking, okay, that's a message from my niece. So I tell her what happened because I had thought about them. I tell her what happened. I told her what my angels had said to me, and she just cried and thanked me for giving her that message because she was going through some things and blah, 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 blah. So we was on the phone for about an hour and a half. So I said, I'm going to get off and I'm going to go walking. But something, as I got my clothes on to go walking, it felt unfinished. The message, 10:10, felt unfinished. And I said, well, Spirit, was that really for Portia or was that for me or did I leave something out? And again, I just got my clothes on and went out the door. But I still felt I missed something. So I'd get 50 feet from my driveway. And I have a tendency to walk out in the street. I live in a small housing development, and I walk out in the street because, anybody who comes there, you live there. And so I walk in, I'm Texas. Sidewalks are too small. I live big. I walk out in the street. So I'm walking out in the street, and all of a sudden, 50 feet away from my driveway, there are 2 shiny dimes. 10:10. And I looked at it, and I smiled, and I was like, get out of here. I pick up the dimes, but as I'm picking up the dimes, I see a baby black snake whirling off. Oh my God. What? Snakes mean transformation. shedding of the old, bringing on the new. The 10-10 is evolution, energy, all of that. And I was like, what in the world? And I realized, wow, Spirit was talking to me. But to make sure that I knew that they were talking to me too, 15 minutes later, I find one Pennie. And what's my name? Pennies from heaven. That's how the universe talks to us. And we have to see with eyes that are healthy, that are love, that are joy. Yes, through the sight and sound, we have the ability to communicate within this physical world. But we also have the ability to communicate with the universe and to be in touch with the nature of everything, which allows us to translate what we hear and see from fear to strength. What we hear and see from loneliness to complete joy of the legions of angels that are around us and that we are never alone. That's what we want to see. So opening our eyes to more sight is about knowing ourselves and giving that universal life force permission to use our unique experiences of human flaws to talk to us. In turn, we are then expanded through these experiences and divine conversations. And we are doing what, and we are here and able to do what we are here to do. We're not here to just take up space and suck up air. We have purpose. And the universe needs us to step up to that, okay? To be the pioneer of this frontier that we are on. So let's take a few moments, if you will, and let's close our physical eyes just for a little while. Just close our physical eyes. Take a deep breath in. And as you exhale out, allow your sight to move beyond the physical agreements we've made to see only a limiting world full of fear and anguish and impossibilities. Let go of that agreement. And as you continue breathing slowly, see the universe in all of its manifestations, peering out through the eyes of your heart, your throat chakra, your solar plex, your sacral chakra. Let it all flow out. See it. Feel it. Relax in the feeling of allowing the universe to see the wonderment of the world through your eyes, through your interactions, so that you then can allow it to reflect back to you messages of love, empowerment, and new life. We see. We have all knowing. And we approach this world, every step we make, we know it is ordered by you. We are grateful. We are grateful. We are grateful. Ashe.